the very first episode of the Bugle podcast.
This is Buglr. Hello and welcome to the inaugural Buglr. I'm Abra, your female voice for this episode.
And I'm Luke, your other one.
The other one.
Yeah, this is it's a bit weird, awkward. Maybe just get used to it.
We're not awkward.
Yeah, no, this is. Anyway, we are here to fill the huge void caused by the absence of the Bugle in our lives.
We begin with Hot Off the Presses, where we bullshit around with local and international news.
First up, Marco Rubio has taken the very brave position that human DNA cannot turn into donkeys. Very controversial. Of course, before this, everyone thought that human DNA could turn into donkeys, that this was a regular occurrence. I mean, who knows where donkeys come from? That's all I'm saying. They must come from somewhere. And, we thought human DNA maybe. But Marco Rubio schooled us all. Live on CNN. After the first Republican debate, the presidential candidate and, we're not even kidding, US Senator Marco Rubio asserted that human life begins at conception. When the host Chris Cuomo tried to interject, Rubio took this objection and twisted it into balloon animals.
Cuomo was like, let me interrupt you, which is kind of his, I'm gonna let you finish. But science!
It cannot turn into an animal,
Science.
He said. It can't turn into a donkey. If they can't say it will be a human life, what does it become then? Could it become a cat? He later, very proudly, released this statement in handy meme form, proving that this was a predetermined attempt at being willfully obtuse. Of course, another thing Rubio could have said does not come from human DNA is his opponent, Donald Trump, because I don't believe there's any human gene that produces that kind of ludicrous head of hair. It's also probably worth mentioning what real biologists would say, which is life is continuous and a sperm is just as alive as a fertilized or even an unfertilized egg. At least that is until it dies an ignoble death on the college boys' gym sock. Rubio doesn't like to think about that part though, because it means that every non-reproductive ejaculation, containing around 180 million swimmers on average, is straight up genocide.
It's the largely unexplored downside of the pro-life conundrum, the one that makes men culpable parties, and therefore no sane politician mentions it even once. Our next news story is karaoke funerals.
According to the Lancaster Evening Post, the Lancaster and Morecambe Crematorium has installed an automated music system. The clergy are concerned that this may lead to karaoke funerals.
It could. Reverend Graham Maskery really supports David Tattersall, who's been the organist at the crematorium for 20 years. They think it's taking that personal side away from the funeral. But I think my favorite line, I'm going to take two quotes here and put them together because Reverend Maskery says the clergy would want to support maintaining the best professional response that David provides, not just pressing a button like a karaoke machine. He then says the other downside is it's another job for the clergy because someone has to operate the machine. It's another thing to think about, the way we minister in that moment of grief and vulnerability. So it must be very hard to minister and push a button at the same time. Who's going to be the button pusher?
It could be a foot switch.
It could be. Maybe they could hire the organists and because they get paid the same amount.
I mean, nobody even sees it happen. The minister just standing there giving the whole ceremony.
I don't see a problem here.
Sly little foot switch. Music starts. Sorted. That's...
Yeah.
Yep, clapper. And now it's time for the music. Or, voice activation. Get Siri in there. Hey Siri.
No.
Music, please.
The organist pushed the button. It's all good. It's all good.
Hey Siri, play us out of this funeral, please. They could integrate Apple Music. Zane Lowe could DJ.
What would you choose?
I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you fire. I'll take you to burn.
Nice.
What about you?
I just see like a widow getting up and, you know, she looks at the casket and she looks at her family and, you know, she just kind of stiff upper lip and everything. And then this starts to play.
I got this music in my mind saying it's gonna be alright. 'Cause the player's gonna play. And the haters gonna hate, baby. I'm just gonna shake. Shake it off. Heartbreaker's gonna break.
I can tell you like it by the snapping.
I'm just gonna shake.
Shake it off.
Never miss a beat.
Yeah, that's a good
Like it
funeral.
on my feet.
Top marks. Critics are gonna love that funeral.
Thank you.
Speaking of shaking it off, in the UK, the crazy shambolic world of UK politics, there's a wild card politician going by the name of Jeremy Corbyn, making waves across the land.
After being thrashed in the general election, and Ed Miliband having fallen on his sword, broken it, fallen over and apologized, the race is now on to find a leader that can rescue the Labour Party from oblivion. The party executive were presumably hoping for a stage-managed contest between three on-message candidates standing on the same platform and with the same policies. Three of the candidates fit this bill perfectly. You have Scouse Captain Scarlet lookalike Andy Burnham, Alpha Yvette Cooper, previously best known for being married to Ed Balls, and Liz Kendall, a Tory who joined the wrong party by mistake. Any of these three could be a perfectly acceptable new Labour leader, telegenetic, well-groomed, semi-robotic, always ready to output a well-spun soundbite. Perfect, right? However, instead of fighting it out for the leadership, they are now scraping over second place to the token socialist who was invited to take part to make up numbers. The self-effacing, soft-spoken Jeremy Corbyn is the complete antithesis of his opponents. With his white suit and his white beard, he looks more like an avuncular geography teacher than a prospective party leader. He's neither slick nor groomed, and is happy to give straight answers, rather than sound bites already tested and proven to be utterly bland and inoffensive. He's virtually unknown to the general public, and before this was most famous for chairing the Stop the War Coalition, and being a 5-time winner of the Parliamentary Beard of the Year contest. Something big is happening at grassroots level, and the leadership don't have a clue how or even if they can stop it. Since Corbyn's nomination was confirmed, party membership has more than tripled from 200,000 to 610,000, including 160,000 who had registered in the final 24 hours. Corbyn mania has swept the nation and is still gathering momentum.
In bizarre scenes reminiscent of the equally unfathomable Miller fandom, Corbyn has become another unlikely sex symbol. The middle-class housewives of Mumsnet have been observed discussing their weird crushes on the wily old silver fox Corbyn. Some of the odder comments were, "Fwah! He's attractive in a world-weary old sea dog sort of a way. If you half fancy Dumbledore, Corbyn is probably in the same arena. At least he looks like a fully fledged human being, unlike most politicians. Andy Burnham looks like an auton." Even those who didn't get the physical attraction thing still found things to admire. I do love how he looks to be the opposite of all the other steam-cleaned focus group robotic politicians who don't ever seem to have a useful thought in their heads. However, the sanity and judgment of many of these forum members has subsequently been called into question, as their discussion moved on to the sexiness of Michael Gove. Latest polls put Corbyn on over 50% of the vote, enough support to win outright in the first round, and the party establishment is starting to panic.
New Labour apparatchiks have been coming out of the woodwork to attack Corbyn. Even Tony Blair, a man who today is so unpopular that politicians lie awake at night, terrified of his endorsement, has now weighed in with dire warnings of a Corbyn victory. further boosting Corbyn's chances.
When asked what had been her greatest achievement, Margaret Thatcher is famously quoted as having replied, Tony Blair and New Labour. That is to say, she had eradicated socialism from the British political landscape. Today, though, people are gradually realising that there's the genuine possibility of giving the late Premier a posthumous kick in the metaphorical nuts, and it feels good.
And now it's time for listener mail.
Listener mail? How the hell do we have listener mail in our first episode?
It's a stack left behind by the previous tenant. He had to leave the country in a hurry. Actually, let's see if there's something that we can use. Some sales flyers. A dozen final notices. Pack of sugar, I hope. Ugh, this one's a monkey's paw. I can tell by the package. Here's one. Oscar K. from Houston, Texas checks in with the following. When Barack Obama was elected both times, we were promised some very specific things from his opposition. Hardcore socialism, the end of the right to bear arms, the moon turning to blood, 1,000 years of darkness. So what did we end up getting? Healthcare and gay marriage? With a year and a half remaining in what I once hopefully called the reign of terror, it's time to confess. Barack Obama is the most down-market antichrist ever. We were led to expect not just an imperial presidency, but one that would be headed by the father of all lies. Ted Nugent's head stuck on a pike at all press conferences as a warning for all to toe the line. The Lincoln bedroom redecorated in Tom Brokaw's entrails. State dinners where unnaturally monstrous ghouls from the democratic apparatus, as much troll as human from breathing the poisoned air which would now emanate from the Oval Office, dined on the flesh of unbaptized babies. Sadly, none of that has come to pass. The drone strikes were a good start, but everybody accidentally bombs civilian targets these days. What else have you got? The most fatal misstep was the death of bin Laden. What kind of secret Muslim are you if you have them kill bin Laden? You were supposed to invite him to America to oversee the oppression of the good and the righteous. Maybe he'd corral us all into overcrowded internment camps, or maybe he'd put us in a fighting arena, fighting to the death for precious small scraps of food. Maybe he'd just bury us up to our necks in the Iowa cornfields and chop off our heads with a thresher as some type of ironic commentary on the freedoms that he hated. I don't know. I'm not really an idea man. That's why I'm not the president. So I make this direct plea to the man that I still desperately want to believe carries the mark of the beast. Come on, Barry. My children are losing faith in me. Be everybody's president for a change. At least drop a few plagues on us before you go. I might even start paying my taxes again if you do. Oh, so that was from Oscar K. in Houston, Texas.
Mm-hmm. And the previous tenant left that behind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no forwarding address.
Fair enough. Sounds like a nutter. I wouldn't want him knowing where I live anyway.
Yeah, well, that closes up the listener mailbag.
And remember, if we use your letter on the air, you should be awfully surprised. And now we interrupt our regular program for a sponsored ad.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Do you struggle to stand out from the crowd? Do you have trouble getting the top jobs? Do people find you shallow and superficial? Do you feel that nobody even likes you? Do you desperately wish that you gave off an aura of credibility and authenticity? You need the core beard. Just apply once and have instant gravitas, sex appeal, and idealism. Don't take our word for it. Listen to one of our satisfied customers. Here's Jeremy of Islington.
I thought my career was as good as over, but now I'm a shoo-in for the top job, all thanks to my core beard. I owe you everything, Bugle.
But wait, Corebeard is not available in shops, only available direct from Bugle Incorporated. For just $19.99 or 2 for $29.99, the Corebeard can be yours. Get it now while stocks last. Available in all male and female sizes in 50 shades of gray. The Corebeard, approved by Unite and Unison. Call now and receive a free trawler's captain's hat. Terms and conditions apply. Your home may be at risk if we like the look of it and feel like moving in. Finally, we've prepared a book review section for our sophisticated, intellectual listeners out there. So please lend your ears to our resident book reviewer, Kevin Maltloaf.
Hi there, listeners of Podcasties or whatever you're called. My name is Kevin Maltloaf, but you can call me Kev. I've been asked by these people after they read my blog, Why Good Plumbing is Better Than Sex, to review some of the so-called classics for you. This will provide you with not just the education, but also the ability to win the quiz at the pub on a Thursday night. Anyhow, here we go. A Passage to India by E.M. Forster. This is a book about my second favourite curry house after the Taj Mahal on the High Street, but seemed a bit on the wordy side as it's 369 pages long. I was severely disappointed as there were no mentions of my favourite Lamboona or Cobra Lager in this so-called classical literature. It did have lots of bits about India, but not many mentions of passages in it. So in the first category, gets an average of 4 in my Dwyer-Sock scale, which is the all-important, does what it says on the cover rating. This is much, much better than his other book Morris though, which has no mention of great British cars like the Marina, Ital, or even the classic Morris Mini. It's got a Dwyer-Sock rating of 0, that one. I digress. Anyhow, back to the book. Seems that unlike the books we studied at school, some Indians evidently didn't like being part of the British Empire. I know, it's a massive shock, and from my perspective a bit ungrateful. After all, we brought them railways, tax collectors and government and cricket. And from what I see on TV, what they'd have to do otherwise would be work in call centres and dance around in a strange manner like in them Bollywood films on Channel 4. How they get anything done is beyond me. If they all get up and start singing and dancing every 20 minutes, it's weird. So that historical inaccuracy aside, the book seemed to be all about a bit of a misunderstanding between Dr. Aziz, who is Mrs. Maltloaf's gynaecologist by the way, and a very brave man, and everyone else in some caves. Anyhow, Mr. Aziz was supposed to have touched this English woman requested, and rather than slap him and storm off as any normal woman would, the whole thing ends up in court, which evidently happened over there when you're over friendly and confused, especially with a white woman. To cut a long story short, it turns out that she had a funny turn due to some echoes and claustrophobia that she eventually realised was being in the wrong. I had a similar do in the Blue John Caverns in Castleton when I saw the prices in the gift shop. £1.75 for a cornetto when I can get 6 for £1 in Morrison's. Luckily, he gets off a crime that will put him in the Jimmy Savile wing of Strangeways prison, which is no joke, as my ex-friend Dodgy Brian would tell you. He ended up there after a misunderstanding with an over-friendly ferret, a 15-year-old boy, and his broken zipper. Right then, this is what I think of the book. There were no car chases, nothing exploded, no one was killed, and there was no decent sex scenes, if you know what I mean. Nothing too weird, but something to raise the blood pressure would be welcome. Advice to Mr. Forster. The book could have been improved if they turned the cave into that one with lava from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and he'd written short round into it. He no nuts, he crazy. Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones.
Thank you to anyone still listening. Congratulations on making it through. You don't win anything. But please tune in for our next episode with a different pair of assholes giving you the Buglr take on the news.
For listener mail and any feedback you have, please drop a line to wearebuglers@gmail.com. That's wearebuglers@gmail.com. You have been listening to Buglr. Please swipe right.
Hello, Buglers. This is Shauna. I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening to our shoddy podcast. Well, we will improve in time, but this being the first episode and everything, I'm just happy that I'm recording this short message on my birthday, and just hoping that we could continue this awesome little adventure. And I would just like to thank everyone for being an absolute star. It couldn't have been possible without you. It was just a fun ride that I hope to be on for as long as we can, but we'll see. So yes. Thank you for everything, and I just hope to be part of this community as long as I can. Bye.